Hey guys, it's Ben, and today I'm going to be walking through the SAO HackTheBox challenge. This was a really fun challenge. I solved it a little while ago, however, it's only just become retired, so I'm doing the walkthrough now. I may not remember it all, but I'll figure it out as I go along. So I've got the box up and running. We've got an IP. Let's do an nmap scan, right? I'm going to do all ports, TAC SV for service version enumeration, TAC SC to use the NSE scripts, the nmap scripting engine scripts, to get some more information, may be useful. TAC N to not do reverse DNS resolution. TAC PN to not send a ping check, because we can just ping over here and just check it's working. There we go, it's pinging, as we can see, nice. One thing to note, I also have added this to my host file, so I can refer to the host as sao.hackthebox, and it works fine. So, TAC T4 for a speedy output, paste the IP in there, and I'm going to output this to full thorough.log. I have already ran this command, so we can have a look at the results of the nmap scan here. Let's just zoom in a bit. There we go. So we can see there are quite a few ports open and some being filtered, so we likely not able to access this, but it has noticed there is an open port, or there is a port there, so that's something to keep in mind. We can see there's SSH on port 22, the default port. The software running the SSH server is OpenSSH, and we can see look, it's running on Ubuntu. On port 883 and 80, these are both filtered. We don't really know what's going on here. On port 55, it's open. Can't really enumerate the protocol for some reason. It looks like by some of the responses we've got here that this is definitely a HTTP server. I'm not sure why nmap wasn't able to enumerate the actual the service here. But we can investigate this, right? Because we can go to this on a web browser, or we can, for example, like just connect via netcat on 5555, and we can just send like a malformed GET request. We should receive a 400 bad request, because yeah, there we go. So can we access this via a web browser? Let's just see. Go on port 555. And we get taken to this /web endpoint, and then we've got request baskets. So we can see down there it's powered by request baskets, and if we hover over this, we can get taken to a GitHub repository. We do know the version as well as 1.2.1, so maybe if we look on here, we can see there is a version 1.2.3, so we are a few versions out of date. If we go, can we go back to releases 1.2.2, we can see if there's anything interesting here. I like to do this just to have a look. 1.2.1 is here and 1.2.2 is here. It doesn't say straight away, or maybe if we look at the full change log, we may find out if there's a vulnerability and it's been patched in a later version. This is a good way to look for it, looking at the actual the issues of the pull requests and the commits which have been made. But it doesn't look like there's anything that interesting there. Maybe it was patched on a later version. We can have a look, or there may not be any vulnerabilities at all. We can't see much here. You may instead just go 1.2.1, like to search request baskets vulnerability. You could also use search exploit, so search exploit requests baskets. Basket. It doesn't look like we can get anything out of search exploit, but to be honest, I didn't know if it was on there in the first place. But when we do search 1.2.1 request basket vulnerability, we do see there is a GitHub repository about an SSRF vulnerability, and we do have a CVE number here. So let's just quickly check this out. This is CVE 2023, so this is a fairly recent CVE, 27163. we should be able to find it. Here we can see it's rated a 6.5 CVSS3 score, and we can see a request basket up to 1.2.1 was discovered to contain an SSRF vulnerability via the component API basket's name. So let's actually have a look at some of the proof of concepts for this and see if we can play around what we can do. So it tells us this repository contains a POC for the CVE. The vulnerability allows an attacker to access network resources and sensitive information by exploiting the API basket's name component through a crafted API request. So if we clone this repository, let's go into the exploits directory, and we can git clone this repository. cd to this, we can just have a look. It's in sh, so we can just go like this, and we do get some details here. This POC will create a vulnerable basket on the request basket server. One thing I haven't done, and before jumping in, we should just play around, right? So if we just create a basket like this, we can open the basket here, and we can see this basket is empty. Send requests to this, and they will appear here. So if we send a request to here, and we can see it's web, and then we've got this like ID here, /web / the ID, and then we can send the request to just the ID. And if we send this, for example, and not that, like this, HTTP, we can see, if we look in here, the GET request which we just sent was there. We can also see all the headers which are sent, like we can see the user agent there, which is the user agent of the Firefox browser which I'm currently working in. So it captures the requests which are sent, and it looks like there's some sort of server-side request forgery vulnerability going on. And when I heard that, I thought back to this port 80 here, which we couldn't see what was going on. Maybe with this SSRF vulnerability, we'll be able to access the internal, the web server, which is like only accessible internally because we're making the request from the server side. So that was my idea. So we can do this, and we're given two parameters, a URL and a target. So let me just do that. In the URL, this is the main path of the server, and then the target is the server that request baskets is sort of proxying, is trying to access the resources from. We see we passed the URL of the request basket server there first, which is just going to be on the port 5555, and then the one we want to access, which we can't. And if I just show you, if we went curl sal.hackthebox, we don't get a response, but it has sort of noticed something is open. So we can try this here, and we'll go sal.hackthebox, and it's now saying accessing this now makes the server request to this, which it's making the request internally from inside this machine, from outside, like I'm doing it. So when I make this curl request, I'm making it from the outside, and it's probably blocking the port somewhere. Something's going on which is filtering it, and it's not allowing me to make external requests to this web server. However, what we're doing here is we're using this SSRF vulnerability to make sending a request to the request basket server, and it's sort of proxying it to this, which could only be accessible internally. So if we now go to this instead, let's see what this does. We'll go to this. Oh, I did not want to go there. There we go. You put H there, like so. And we're seeing something very different to what we were seeing before here. We do see something's happened, and we see powered by Maltrail, and we've got a version there as well. We could look at the source code, see if we can understand a bit more. This Maltrail was totally new to me, so was this request basket, to be honest, but we could perhaps look for vulnerabilities in this version now. So we could do a search exploit on Maltrail. And we can see, look, there is an unauthenticated RC vulnerability in this. So this Maltrail endpoint website wasn't accessible to us in the at the beginning. It was only accessible internally. So we used an SSRF vulnerability. We chained an SSRF vulnerability to access the Maltrail endpoint, and now we're going to exploit that Maltrail vulnerability for RCE. So what I really enjoyed about the challenge was the fact we had to chain two exploits together to get your initial access. I thought that was pretty neat. So let's just copy this and we'll download this exploit. I'll close this down here. Actually, I'll just keep it up in case we need it. I'm going to go search exploit tac m, like so, and we can subble 5167 and have a look. So it looks like it's already got a reverse shell embedded inside. It does some base64 encoding. This Maltrail vulnerability is just a command, arbitrary command execution really. There's a command injection vulnerability. There's an article on it here. Oh, that's the GitHub. If we actually look at what the proof of concept is doing, right, it's curling the URL, which we supply here, the target URL. It's also it's going to the login endpoint on this, and it's sending a post request with a data parameter, and it looks like there's just a command execution in the data parameter. So, sorry, I got my words muddled there. It's posting with the data switch, and it's posting a username, and the command injection exists in the value of the username. So you can see you're using this semicolon to indicate this is a new command which is being run. Then they're echoing the encoded base64 encoded payload into base64, decoding it, and then piping that into SH to get a shell. So let's just give this a go, right? We see we have to pass parameters, IP, port, and target URL. So I'm going to listen on port 444, Python 5167. The IP, which I'm calling back to, is 10.10.16.4. The port I'm calling back to is 444. The target URL is this, because this is what we're proxying through. I'll move that over a bit. We can run this. It's running the exploit there. And it looks like we've got a shell back, right? We can say ID, who am I? We're Puma, this is the user. We can say what directory I'm in. I'm in this opt Maltrail. And before I do this, I want to upgrade to a better semi-functional shell, really. So I'm going to import pty, pty.spawn, bin bash. This basically gives me a tty shell. I'm also going to export term equals xterm, and now I can clear my screen, and I've got some highlighting on, which is quite neat. We can go back up, we can go to the home directory, we can cd into Puma, and we can see there's user.txt flag there, right? Go ls-tac-la, we see it's got a right bit set for the Puma group. I'm Puma the user, so I said write, I meant read, sorry about that. So I'm able to read this file, so that's nice. What I always do when I'm trying to privilege escalate, I do a few quick and easy checks before maybe jumping over to my other box and getting limpies in. I like to just do sudo tac-l, basically what commands can the current user run as sudo. And here we can see they can run the systemctl status trail service. So this is quite interesting, right? Let's go to GTFO bins and see if this is a known privilege escalation vector. So systemctl, and we can see, look, there is a sudo capability, and there's a few ways of doing this. Some of the ways involve editing this this trail.service file. If you want to, you can look at this. Find type file name. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Let me file type f name file type f name trail.service. Find. I'm not having the greatest day here today. Name trail.service and then redirect into devnull. It's in like etc systemd, yeah. If you want to look at the permissions on this, lstech.la, we can't edit this, right? Only root has the right bit set. So we also can't run systemctl edit system slice because if we look at our sudo capabilities, it's just for status, not edit. What we can do is this last one here, though, and this invokes the default pager, which is likely to be less. Other functions may apply, and you can just, when you run this systemctl command, you can use like a an exclamation point and then sh whatever to run commands. So I'll just show you here, for example. Run this. I can go bin bash like this, and that didn't work. What about sh? That did work. And I go id, and the reason this isn't working is because I'm not doing a sudo at the beginning. I totally forgot to do that. So let me do this again. Sudo bin bash, and now we're running as root. I can clear again. I can see id, who am I in root. So I privilege escalated to root. I can go to the root directory, and I can recover the root flag like that. So yeah, that's this challenge solved. It was a quick one. I'm sorry if my explanations weren't that great on this, but if you have any questions, just put it in the comments. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.